Gamaliel in Acts 5:34-40 says, Theudas gathered 400 people who proclaimed him as Messiah. He was killed and his followers scattered. During Yahushua's birth, Judas of Galilee had the same result. In 130 AD, Bar Kokhba led a revolt in Rome at the time of Hadrian and was killed. Rabbi Akiba proclaimed as Messiah, and his revolt was filled with blood and failed. Moses of Crete, who was to part the waters like the Red Sea, jumped in and drowned along with the rest of his followers who could not swim. In 720 AD, Abu Isa from Baghdad became famous for being the only messianic coward on record. In 1750, Jacob Frank announced his messiahship and had laid Crissa as a self-proclaimed prophet, acting as a John the Baptist, proclaimed Frank as Christ in Poland. Jacob Frank replaced Jesus in the Christian Trinity as Son of God and was quickly put in chains by Roman Catholic Poles, only to be set free by the Greek Orthodox Russians. And later he lived his life in extravagance, and he and his followers vanished from the scene. 10 years later, Baal Shem Tov, meaning master of the name, entered, claiming to fame, and is attributed to be the founder of early Hasidim. He was the first to have miracles accredited to him. Several years ago, Hasidim claimed Rabbi Schneerson as Messiah, who had no miracles, but hopes were ruined when they found he was as mortal as they when death took him at 90 years old. Now all of these false messiahs had one common operation to the people. They duped them and ruined their lives physically and spiritually. Isaiah tells us that the Assyrian is the rod of Yahuwah's displeasure, that in the land of Babel, which is lower eastern Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Iran, he would raise up Gibborim, mighty ones, for his displeasure, even from the ends of the earth. That Ashur will be in Israel, and all nations will be gathered together against Israel. That Ashur will be broken, and the lawless will be sent into Tophet, the place of burning. That the lawless roar like lions, but Yah is not moved, and come as an eagle, to cause Ashur to fall. Now it's very clear that this is referring to a time at the end, just before the day of Yahuwah. Someone of Assyrian origin will be the anti-Messiah. Ezekiel tells us that the Prince of Zor in modern Syria, as an analogy of Satan or Hellel Nimrod, will set himself up as though he were Yahuwah or Messiah, but shall be destroyed. That Gog is a person in the land of Magog, a prince of Rosh, Persia, Put, Gomer, and Togarmah. The land of Babel, as in Isaiah, who will rise against Israel. That specifically Bashan is of interest, pointing us to Syria. This is referring to the anti-Messiah, and this is the area from which his origin is. And most important, Daniel tells us that beasts will rise from Babel, correlating to Revelation. 4 horns, out of which a little horn rises, who will become larger than his associates. That eyes, vision, or sight is a prominent feature to him, and speaks great deceptive words. He tells us of the rise of the Persian-Median Empire after the Babylonian Empire, which in turn will be taken over by the Greek-Macedonian Empire of Alexander the Great. That horn is broken and 4 kingdoms rise out of it, which is Alexander's 4 generals, who each take a portion. Greece by Cassander, Syria by Seleucus, Turkey by Lysimachus, Egypt by Ptolemy. And out of these comes the little horn that exalts itself as high as Messiah. And he tells us of a king of the north, which is north of Israel, who will bring about the abomination that lays waste, but he will have his end in Israel. This is the anti-Messiah, and here Isaiah is slimming down the area from which he comes from and his origin, as well as what things and peoples and beliefs he mingles with, and what he will do. Syria again is pointed out to be his origin. This is Bashar al-Assad. He is the prince of Assyria today. His name al-Assad means the lion, but his original family name, which was changed, is al-Wahash, which means the beast. His family comes from a little minority called Alawites, possibly Hivite Canaanites, from the region of Lebanon and Syria near Baalbek. Along with Iran, Syria has been supporting terrorist factions such as Hamas, Hezbollah, and Al-Qaeda to bring about the destruction of Israel. He's taller than most of his associates and has allies: Put, which is Libya, Cush, which is Egypt, Nubia, which is Ethiopia and Sudan, Persia, which is Iran and Afghanistan, Ammon, Moab, and Edom, which is Jordan, Magog, which is Turkey, Tyre, which is Lebanon, and all of the original Babylon and Assyria, which is Syria. Psalm 83 says these kingdoms are involved in trying to destroy Israel, as the prophets told us. The Muslim nations are descendants of Ishmael, Isaac's brother, who sold his birthright for a bowl of soup. Islam has a god who they call Allah, which is much older than Muhammad. It's an ancient moon god of Arabia and Babylon. The jihad of Islam means struggle, much the same as Hitler's Mein Kampf, my struggle, also against the children of Israel. Al-Mahdi is the name of the Muslim Messiah, of whom it was said that before him a tall African man would rise to power of the greatest of Western nations to make a way for Islam to take over the world. This prophecy was spoken by a man named Hussein. So what are we possibly in for in the near future? The Mahdi in Islam is to rise to power as the returned 12th Imam, who will unite Muslim nations and make war against those opposing Islam. Their version of Yahushua, or Jesus, who they call Isa, will come around that time in submission to the Mahdi, and to declare and teach the world that Islam is the true faith. Together, Isa and the Mahdi will destroy the Dajjal, who arrives after them, rising as a king of the Jews and Christians. But the Hebrew Scriptures, literally a polar opposite to this, says that the anti-Messiah and his false prophet will appear first, enslave mankind, and convert them to a one-world government and religion. Then those who are not beheaded and slain for testimony of truth will suffer 3.5 years of tribulation, until Yahushua, the true Messiah, comes and saves them. So the Islamic Mahdi is actually the Antichrist, and the Islamic Isa is the false prophet, and their Dajjal is actually Messiah. there's a 1 in 100 trillion chance of even 8 prophecies in Scripture being fulfilled by one thing or person.